Oh, hello everyone, and it's really awesome. We are back with another guiding talk. So last time we had a huge response, how to crack product companies. So now we have another interesting topic for you guys. So how to crack community roles for freshers 101. And I want to thank Anirudh for joining us. He's a community evangelist at HackerEarth, and he's also managing the HackerEarth Campus Ambassador program and also many other programs there. So even I am hacker at Campus Ambassador, so I got to know him from that program. And if you want to become one, you can apply for that program. I'll share the link in comments. So let's start the thing, and Anirudh will be like helping us, and he'll give a short intro about himself, and he'll start the thing. And at the end, you can ask your questions in comments. Cool, guys. Anirudh, you can start. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manoj. First off, before I even start, I would actually like to thank Manoj, who's actually made this entire thing really possible. I have been in touch with Manoj for a while now, and he came up with this really interesting initiative where he mentioned that a lot of students would actually like to hear a little bit more about, the roles that are there and how they could probably crack them by getting in touch with specialists. I wouldn't consider myself as one, but with people who have a little bit of experience in the field in general. So thank you so much, Manoj, for making this possible. The topic for today, as most of you guys already know, is cracking community roles in today's business and in today's day and time. Now, before I jump right in, let me just tell you who I am and what I do, and give you a small gist of why you should actually be listening to this webinar for as long as it would be. So my name is Anirudh Warrior, and I am a community evangelist at HackerEarth. I have been one for the last 8 to 9 months, I'm guessing right now. And it has been an amazing journey for me till now. To give you a small background of who I am and what my entire background was about, let me take you back probably like 8 to 10 months back, and let me tell you that I was a mechanical engineering graduate who kind of figured out that I had a lot more interest, and I was a lot more interested in trying to build a community, trying a little bit in marketing or more a more interactive field to say. And I was really interested in college events and inter-college events and stuff like that. So that is one of those things that always interested me a lot. So I started building my entire profile based off of that by doing a couple of small internships during my final year of college, and then eventually bagging the role of community evangelist at HackerEarth. So before I even start, let me just tell you a couple of things that I have done for HackerEarth and that I do handle right now at HackerEarth. So I'm actually, like the name suggests, community evangelist. I handle the community of about 4 million that we are currently standing on right now. And I'm super proud to say that I'm a part of this entire journey. I also handle the Campus Ambassador program at HackerEarth, which is how we kind of met the host of this event as well. Other than that, I do handle a lot of coding contests, college requests, partnerships with placement officers, colleges across the globe, India, a little bit of US as well. And I do handle a little bit of social media at HackerEarth when it comes to various campaigns and specific campaigns that we kind of run from our end. So what you guys can actually expect from this entire session is a lot of freshers and students, I have noticed, are a little confused about how they can approach companies, organizations, startups for community roles in the industry today. And I have observed that a lot of people think that having a lot of achievements on your resume is something that will definitely grab you a role in these organizations, which I personally think is definitely an added bonus, but is not something that you should only concentrate on. So if you are cluttered, if your mind is a little cluttered or less organized, and if you do wish to have a different perspective from someone who's been working in the industry for about 9 to 10 months, then you should definitely stay on, and we have a really interesting session planned for you guys. So without further ado, I think I should just jump right into the slide. Let me just quickly bring my slide up. All right. So here we go. So like I just already mentioned, what to expect at the end of this webinar is to be a little more organized as to how you can probably approach community roles in organizations, be it top organizations, enterprises, SMBs, etc., and to crack that exact community role in startups as well. So just moving on, taking you forward to a little bit deeper into what community roles actually stem from. To actually discuss this, I would actually like to take your attention to the slide that is presented here. A very simple question of what is a typical community. This is a question that a lot of people struggle with while answering. It is also a question that is asked a lot of times in a couple of interviews that organizations take for freshers and stuff. So if you kind of take your attention to the points that are mentioned here, these are very generic definitions that I have got out of very minimal research. A couple of them, yes, I did have to look up really well. A community can actually be defined as a group of individuals who are probably coming together, have the same kind of attitude or objectives in common. It can also be defined as a group of living things who live in the same or share the same environment or the geographical location. Or it could also be a group of individuals with common interests that arise from association. So when you talk to someone on a daily basis, or when you talk to a group of individuals on a daily basis, there is a lot of possibility that you are influencing this person from with your thoughts, and they are influencing you with their thoughts as well. Which kind of arises, or which kind of brings in the question of, okay, what are these group of individuals called? They are called a community. So that is a typical definition of what a community is. Would I stick to that definition, or would I agree to it? I don't think so. If I had to choose one of these three, I would say all of them, but with a very important aspect, which is that a community is basically a group of individuals who come together, have common interests, attitudes, and might or might not stay in the same environment, but work towards one specific goal. So that is something that is super important. You can be a part of a community, but growing personally as like an individual and helping the community attain a common goal is the most essential essence, or the most essential objective of any successful community. Uh, if you kind of ask me to give you an example, I would say consider any startup today. The only reason a startup comes into the picture, or an idea of an organization or a business comes into the picture, is when two or three individuals kind of sit together and discuss or think of an idea that they have in their head, and go forward and try to make it a little bigger. So you have about one or two co-founders initially for any startup who come together, have an amazing idea. They think it's something that could be taken forward. So they have more people join the organization. It starts with two, eventually gets to five, and then eventually you start seeing hundreds and thousands of people join. This is how most successful organizations started. I can name a lot of them: Facebook, Microsoft, Apple. Any of these, you take an example, all of these are community driven. These are organizations that have a product or have multiple products, but are also really driven by their community. So the end goal is to help the community grow as one entity, and also personally grow along with it. So that is the most important aspect, according to me, for any community. And that would definitely be my definition that I would like to actually, I would like for you guys to also agree to it eventually. Talking a little bit more about what community roles basically mean. So if you are a part of a community and you are given responsibility of managing it a little bit, or giving it a little bit of direction, I would say that a lot of it comes into you setting up goals, small tasks, or even end-to-end objectives for the entire community. So if I'm handling a group of 10 community members or a group of 10 developers, I would want to be able to give them an objective or a task to work on so that they become better as individuals, and it helps me grow as someone who's managing a community. So let's just jump a little deeper into what a community role typically comprises of. So like I mentioned, if I am someone who's managing a community, there are obviously certain things that I kind of look forward to from developing this community and being a better part of it. um, any if you kind of have a look at any community role that is available out there on the internet today, you can check Glassdoors, you can check LinkedIn. A lot of these roles have multiple description as to what you will be doing there. But these are like four really important aspects that I have learned as a member uh, of the entire community of HackerEarth, of about 4 million developers, that define what I do at HackerEarth, or what a community evangelist does for any organization. To begin with, it's partnerships. Partnerships are the most essential aspect of building a community. So you might have a community of about, say, 1,000 students. You do want these 1,000 students to interact with, maybe another 500 students or maybe another 200 students. So that is a very important aspect that comes under partnerships, because we personally, if I can name a lot of student development groups right now that are available. HackerEarth has a campus ambassador program. There are Google developer groups. There are Microsoft developer groups. There are multiple groups out there. The end goal of all of these guys is to basically help the entire community by improving their coding skills, or giving them a small gist of what the market today looks like and how they can probably crack top interviews with organizations. So these guys come together and try to help the entire community in general. So that is two people partnering to make something bigger, which is essentially what you will be doing and what you will be expected to do in any community role that you can check online or that you find on LinkedIn probably. The second one is social media campaigns. This is something that not a lot of people kind of see the depth or see the kind of depth into. It's because social media is something that has been taboo for a very long time for all of us students. I remember in college, I've spent hours and days, probably even, just browsing stuff on Instagram or watching content on YouTube. And I have always heard people tell me that it's not a great thing to do. Social media is not something that you should be wasting so much time in. And I kind of disagree a little bit now that I'm 9 months into this journey of mine of community evangelist. Social media is not bad if you kind of use it in the right sense. By what I kind of mean by this is, if you're looking for the right kind of stuff on social media, or if you're looking for the right kind of content on social media, you are king, because you're learning what the market looks like today. You're getting more insight into what is trending today. It's very similar to news that comes up on Times of India, or news that comes up on any major newspaper or online blog that you kind of read. Social media keeps you relevant. It keeps you up to date with what is trending today. So that is also something that you will actually be doing as a community manager, or like a member of the community, where you'll be handling a lot of social media campaigns. Say, for example, this webinar, the only reason you guys are here, I don't know how many of you guys are tuned in, but the only reason that you guys are currently tuned in and you guys can see me do this is because you read about this on social media. Be it LinkedIn, be it YouTube, because you kind of logged into, or you kind of subscribed to the YouTube account, or be it Facebook, be it any channel. This is also a social media campaign because of which you guys have come here, and you know that I'm going to be doing this webinar. So this is also something that you will be expected of when you will be jumping into a community role. Another thing is is basically community interaction. Um, a lot of times, when as a member of a community, when you have a couple of issues, or say, for example, you hit a roadblock. I'm working in a startup. I hit a roadblock. I want to reach out to my manager. I want to reach out to someone who knows a little bit more about the entire system who can help me out with my roadblock. Say for example, I'm creating a PowerPoint presentation. I get stuck. I don't know what to write after point 3. I reach out to my manager. I ask them, okay, how is it that I can probably, get past this issue or get past this roadblock, and they help me out. So that is something that you will be expected to do for the entire community, be it 4 million, be it 100 students, be it all of the campuses in India or US or any other country. You will have to interact with your community. You're going to have to find various ways in which you can engage the community. First off, you can acquire new people for the community, for the kind of community that you're building, and you can keep these guys engaged, or you can have an interaction between these community members. This is a very essential aspect. There'll be a lot of requests that will pour into your job or like into your entire role that you will have to handle, and you will have to be a people's person at some point. You will want to have to help everybody out, and you should be helping people out because they reach out to you because of the kind of roadblocks that they reach, and you should be in a position to actually help these guys out. If not then, at some point, yes. The last one is influencer marketing. One of the reasons why I kind of added influencer marketing into this entire mix is because this is a very essential aspect that a lot of people don't think a lot about. And personally, I kind of find that influencer marketing is already the next big thing, and is kind of very relevant right now, considering a YouTube channel or an Instagram channel that has about 20-25K subscribers or followers is something where they themselves are in a position where they have a community. So you eventually want to drive these guys onto your platform or to your organization. So it's really key or important for you to have a little bit of knowledge about influencer marketing, or the different, or you could have a specific niche. Like there are different aspects to it, like brand marketing or handling programs or campaigns. I just mentioned influencer marketing because that is a niche that I kind of enjoy a lot and try to work a little bit more on. So pick a niche, because you will be expected. Every company expects you to be good at one niche and at one individual domain, which is going to be your strong point. So that is typically what community roles kind of comprise of. Obviously, as a fresher or as a student who's fresh out of college, it's very difficult to absorb the entire concept of partnerships or influencer marketing or a niche that you have to kind of pick off. But not to worry, there are a couple of really good cheats that you can use to get past the entire thing, which I'll be discussing further on in this webinar. So moving forward, let's talk a little bit about what it actually takes for you to get or crack a community role, right? To begin with, there's this really funny meme that I kind of found online when I was looking at memes for putting up on the slide. I was just discussing it with a couple of my friends, and I remember as a fresher, I was someone who did not know exactly how to form or write resume, which is key because that is the first thing that any HR person or any representative from an organization is going to look at and is going to judge you based off of that. I understand it's a little unfair as of now because we are trying to develop or evolve. Even HackerEarth, when it comes to developers, we constantly try to get past resumes. We try not to focus on resumes because there is only so much that a resume can tell you. But let me tell you something, it is really essential in a community role that your resume talks, that your resume speaks with the person who is going to hire you. Because you need to put out the points exactly based off of what is there on your job description that you've read and applied for. And you need to resonate, your points or your experience needs to resonate with all of those, or not, if not all, at least a couple of those points of the job description. To begin with, writing down your achievements towards the end, like say, for example, I'm really good at karate. Me saying that I have a black belt in karate towards the end of my resume is not going to add any brownie points to the role that I'm applying for. Specifically, if it's a community role, in like a business or an organization that does not have anything to do with karate, because I need to, every point that I describe or discuss about in my resume needs to resonate with the company in itself. So for example, if you're applying for Google, you definitely are not going to tell them that okay, so I am a student who can play guitar really well, I kind of am in a group with about 20 other guitarists and I enjoy doing this. Yes, it can be a small point. It can be something that you mention towards the end, like probably as a hobby or as an interest that you kind of picked up and want to work on. But it cannot be the highlight or the hero of your resume. It cannot, and it shouldn't be, because that is not something Google resonates with. Google resonates with building a community, or building a community that has very strong values or that stick together because they love technology. That is something that you can add on to that. So if you review tech products in college, probably I knew a couple of friends of mine who used to do this, where they reviewed a lot of tech products that came newly into the market, and kind of put these up as blogs onto various channels. So these things, yes, a lot of companies do look for, because you're reaching out to people, you're telling them about your hobby, you're working on it. So that is definitely something you should work on, but do not make or do not have the wrong hero in your resume, because it's not going to resonate. It's not something that a lot of HR representatives look for. So I can assure you that is not something that is going to get you through. Try your level best to resonate or make your entire experience in a way where develop an experience in a way where you don't run away from the job description. So that's how job description and the resume part kind of works. The meme, like I mentioned, it basically I is kind, and basically it's like I'm a fresher or a student who's literally like, okay, please hire me because I have these other traits. So that's something I wanted to mention. Do not add these. Please do not add these into your resumes, because they will not work. I can assure you. Coming to a couple of must-haves, a little more serious, a more serious take on to what you should actually be building when you're in your final year of college, or if you're a fresher, is the first point is that you should be a part of a community, or you should have a little bit of experience in running community campaigns. So let me explain it in a way where, let me go with students first, or students who are still in college right now. Say for example, you're in your fourth year and you do kind of enjoy working with a community, you do enjoy community roles, you want to know how to get more, you want to know how to get more experience and crack uh, interviews in top organizations. The first and foremost thing is that you need to develop or use the platforms that are available in college, be it college fests, be it groups, be it clubs. There are a lot of tech clubs that are available in colleges right now. I remember there were a couple when I used to study in my college, and initially, no, I was not a part of any tech club, but I did definitely enjoy participating in events for the fest, or trying to organize events during the fest, or taking an initiative while talking to other teams or talking to other clubs that are there in college. Why this matters a lot is because when you get into an organization with for any community role, eventually you will manage an entire program or a campaign. Say for example, the campus ambassador program, you will have to manage a campus ambassador program that spans across India or across the globe, which is big, and you need to have some kind of experience with it. I'm just saying this from a larger perspective, because this is how I kind of got pulled into the entire campus ambassador program that spans across the country now. I had very minimal experience initially, but I had a really good experience with engagement campaigns, which is kind of why I got selected as well, which is one of the reasons why I kind of got selected. The second thing that is really important is excellent interpersonal skills. We see this a lot. We see this constantly pop up in every job description, actually. This is one of those requirements that every company wants. And let me explain why this is. Why language could be a barrier, or, be it any language, if you can communicate well, specifically in English, because that is the kind of medium that you can resonate with as many people as you can, because most people do kind of find that language a little more comfortable. Uh, it's necessary for you to be in an organization and have excellent interpersonal skills, because you do want to convey your thoughts or your opinions to other team members and your superiors as well. Let me explain a little bit. Say, for example, I am someone who is fresh out of college and I crack an interview, but I am unable to, I don't have the right kind of soft skills that are necessary. It becomes extremely difficult for me to convey my thinking, my thoughts, my ideas to my manager or to my entire team. And becomes really difficult for me to get through to these guys, which is something that is super essential if you are a part of a larger team, because eventually you want to get recognized, you do want to perform well. And that is only possible if you can convey what you have in your mind properly, if you can put out your opinion and your thoughts in the right manner. So it's extremely essential to have interpersonal skills, not just to interact with the community, but also to interact with your organization. And if you are partnering with other companies, if you are partnering with other brands, for example, then it is extremely necessary, because then you will be the first point of contact between your organization and theirs. So it is really necessary to actually have these skills. As much as people don't emphasize on soft skills, it is super necessary. Let me assure you, if you can put your thoughts and your opinions forward in an interview in a way that they understand where you're coming from, they understand what your thought process is, half of your job is done. Let me assure you. So that is something that you should essentially work on. The third thing is relevance on social media. Now, relevance on social media is nothing but having or being an active part of groups on social media, or having a little bit of, skills with social media in general. Say, for example, you put up an Instagram story or an Instagram post for your college event, which is a tech fest. Then you need to know what kind of hashtags to crack into. You need to know how to publish this in a way or at a time that works perfectly for your college or for your tech fest. So that is really necessary, that you should actually keep in mind. And a little bit of your handle on social media never hurts. You should have a fantastic reach out there when it comes to social media, and you should have a say, which kind of brings me to the part where so these are the must-have points that you should have while cracking a community interview or going for a community role. But there are a couple of points which not a lot of people mention, not a lot of organizations out there mention, which I have noticed over the last couple of months are extremely necessary as well to, crack any community role. And let me assure you, this could be BuzzFeed India, this could be any major community role that you want to kind of crack into. Let me tell you what sets you apart. A strong social presence. Having a micro community of your own or influencing about 1,000 people on LinkedIn is a big plus for any organization, because if I have to convey a message and I have to tap into your user base, you have influence over 1,000 people, or there are 1,000 people who are going to look into what you have to say, be it on LinkedIn, be it on Instagram, be it on YouTube, for example. There are a lot of people in Facebook or in Google who kind of intern there but are making daily vlogs, which is really interesting because they are sharing their day-to-day experience, and that kind of sets them a little apart from what the usual norm is. I'm not saying this is the only thing that will be taken into consideration. Say, for example, you have 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. I'm not saying that this is what will get you into the interview, but it is what will set you apart. If there are 15 candidates, you having a strong social presence is going to set you apart from the other 14. So that is something that you should definitely take into consideration while cracking community roles. A good start, I would say, would be LinkedIn, because as a student, it's something that I didn't tap into personally a lot, but I did try a couple of things on Instagram. I did try a couple of things with other such channels. LinkedIn is not something that I had tapped into a lot unless I got into this professional stream. So once I got into the professional the working culture or the work culture, I kind of started using LinkedIn a lot, and now I'm pretty active out there. So it's good to have LinkedIn on if you're a fresher or if you are a student. It's really good to have a stronghold over LinkedIn and connect with as many people as you can find, be it your college friends, be it your school friends, or be it just second tier circles or third tier circles on LinkedIn. Just connect, just have a conversation, chat with recruiters, chat with HR from different organizations. It definitely helps you a lot. Another thing is niche experience. So take a niche, say for example, like I mentioned, influencer marketing, or you can just go with having doing webinars. That is an excellent example. So if you just have webinars that you would like to actually do, then that also sets you apart a lot, because webinars in general is something that a lot of companies look for. So if you have organized, say, for about 30 or 40 webinars, it is definitely a key or a plus that a lot of organizations will look for. If even if you have a lot of experience with organizing stuff for say for example for Google, or for coding contests or inter-college contests, these are campaign specific options which a lot of people kind of like to explore, and a lot of organizations look for some experience in a niche. So that is something I think you guys should actually develop and tap into. I have covered these points a lot from the perspective of a college student. If I had to talk about a fresher in, say, for example, with community engagement campaigns, I would suggest for all of you guys out there who have graduated recently, or it's been probably like about 6 to 7 months now, I would suggest just take the leap of faith. Just go for it. Have a look around at what is there, like on LinkedIn, or what opportunities are available. Apply for these opportunities. See where you have missed out on. Just send out an easy email suggesting or asking if you can probably, if there is a way in which they could tell you what is lacking, or what you have to build a little more on. I'm pretty certain most HR or human resources representatives are definitely going to help you out, because that is the end goal, where we kind of eventually help people out in getting more jobs or cracking more job interviews. So that is something I would suggest for freshers. Just take the leap of faith. Do not wait for the perfect opportunity, because it is what you make out of the opportunity that is given to you, and not you waiting for the entire thing to be handed over to you on a platter. So that is something that I would definitely emphasize on. Other than that, regarding engagement campaigns for freshers, be part of meetup groups. Be a part of meetup groups. Meetup is a fantastic website or a platform now that brings like-minded people and develops communities there. So if you are interested in data science or artificial intelligence, for example, get into it. Start probably get into a group on Meetup, and that will really help you set apart, or that will really help you out with developing as an individual for an organization and for yourself. So I would really suggest for freshers that you guys just take the leap of faith and go with it. That is what I did, so I'm guessing it's going to work out for you guys as well. Moving on to something that is a little different from how you can probably crack these roles. Let me just tell you or give you an idea of how any community campaigns usually work well. And the reason I am actually jumping or delving a little deeper into this entire concept is because this is something that is really essential for a lot of people. I'm guessing it's not all that visible. There's a small issue with visibility, but that's completely fine. I guess I have actually written it down as well properly. So in case you guys are thinking what it takes to have the perfect campaign in a community, or have a contest or have some kind of an event cracking that will help me, or that will probably give a boost to my resume, let me tell you the 4I policy or principle that I follow, and I've been following it for a while now, for the last year, I'm guessing. It's very simple. So it starts off with ideate, initiate, implement, and innovate. Ideate is basically the brainstorming session. It's where the idea hits your head, or it's where the seeds of the entire idea comes into the picture. So it takes about 35% of your entire campaign for an idea to take, or for an idea to scale, or for you to work on an idea, because this is extremely important for freshers and for a lot of people out there to understand that the ideation process is what takes maximum time, because this is where your idea comes into picture. You can probably add to it. I'm sorry. So what you can probably add to it. Now, it is a very important aspect which I would suggest you guys kind of carry on for any events that you participate in, or any initiatives that you take part in. Ideation phase is the most necessary. Take it from me, 35% of all of that work comes into the ideation phase. The second is initiation. Now, this is also a very important aspect, but takes a little less amount of work as compared to the ideation phase. I'll tell you why. Initiation is basically taking an initiative to start something. So once you have an idea, presenting it to people, or taking the idea a little forward is something that is very essential if you're planning to build a community, or if you're trying to build any event or any campaign of your own. It takes about 15% of your bandwidth, but it's super important because this is a place where you will stand out, or this is your idea, you will be presenting it to people. So I suggest I would say that is also one of the more important factors. Implementation is another phase that comes right after the initiation phase, where a lot of people want to just once you have once you take an initiative, you have an idea, you have a campaign, you have the entire brainstorming session done. The most important factor is to implement it, test run the idea, the campaign, the event, whatever you have in your mind, because that is what will click with the community. So the implementation stage is basically you going live with the idea, or you showing it to people, saying, hey, this is my product, or this is something that I've worked on, this is my event, would you like to participate or be a part of it? And that is where the community responds. That is where the community kind of picks the idea up, starts resonating with it, wants to participate with the entire idea, or the goal of the entire idea. And eventually, they kind of want to crack they want to be a bigger part of the bigger picture. So that is the entire implementation stage. The last one is actually the innovation stage, which is kind of interesting, because I recently came across this stage where, say for example, you're running a college contest or a college fest or a campaign, inter-college campaign, one of the biggest campaigns that our country has probably seen. You might run the campaign for the first try or the first attempt. You have done an excellent work. You've gotten a lot of traction. You've seen a lot of people from different communities probably participate, and you have a user base. You have a huge user base that is looking forward to the next series of this same event. So the next time that you actually kind of put this event out there, have a little extra, have a little something extra, or have a little extra effort being put in, or have a little extra, inspiration going in, or kind of have a little bit of change, innovate a little bit, work a little more on the idea that you had, or the model that you had planned the last year or the previous time, and keep getting better at it. This is the stage that describes who you are as a community and kind of differentiates you from the other usual communities that are out there. So if you want to become a community manager, or you want to become someone who manages an entire community, I would suggest never go wrong with innovation. Keep innovating, keep trying new stuff, keep trying new things, be it webinars, be it podcasts. There are so many channels out there. Keep trying to reach out to as many people as you can, because ultimately that's what matters the most. And once you do that, you will eventually find yourself in a very comfortable position where you will be leading a lot of members from the community in total. So that is definitely that I would like to stress a little bit on innovation. And that is pretty much what my 4 principles have been in the last 1 year. These are the principles that I follow in my life in general. So I kind of have seen that it's really successful. And be it an interview process, ideation is important. Having your entire resume ready initiation is super important. Reaching out with your resume to all of these guys, or reaching out to HR or organizations, or taking the initiative of reaching out to these guys, putting yourself out there for the entire industry to see. Implementation is where you sit down for interviews. You try as many interviews as you can, so that you can probably, crack, you get confidence, or you get a little more confident with each interview that passes. Be it a success or a failure, you'll obviously gain a little more confidence, because now you're used to that pattern, or those many more questions that interviewers are going to ask you. And the last one is innovation. If you see something going wrong with your entire interview process, do not hesitate to innovate. Keep trying to change how you present yourself. If it's an introduction, change a little bit with how you go into the entire interview process. So for me, if I had to give you an example of this, I would say this is a webinar where I have come with a particular pattern to how I want to talk to you guys, or how I want to present my entire screen. But if I had to, say, for example, do another series or another section or session of this webinar, I would change it completely, or I would make minor changes to what don't work. So say, for example, this slide does not fit here. I'm going to change, and I'm not going to hesitate, because I know that it's a lot of trial and error that goes into getting the perfect resume or getting the perfect profile built up for any interview. So I would suggest you stick to that and just keep trying, I guess. So for all of you freshers and students out there, my only suggestion is, tough times don't last. And this is a motto that I live by. So tough times don't last, but tough people definitely do. So if you do want to, or if you're struggling a little bit with your entire way in which you want to reach out to HR representatives, or crack top coding, or top organizations or roles in organizations, I would suggest just keep trying. Honestly, just keep trying. It's a lot of disappointment before things click, but you will start seeing the bigger picture, and you will honestly see that there are bigger opportunities that are waiting for you through the other side. So that is something that I would definitely like to, that was something I wanted to share, which was really close to me. And let's just, I would like to say, if you guys have any questions, now would be a really good time to probably go ahead with it. I promise I don't bite. You can ask me anything. And if it is something that I can probably help you out with, I definitely will. So right now, let me just quickly check if I can. Hello, Manoj. Manoj, you're muted, Manoj. We can't hear you.
So we have a lot of questions for you. I think we can go with one by one now. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go with the questions. So I'll read out the questions for you.
Sure.
So the first question is asked by Ganesh. Do you think that partnerships has anything to do with having the right connections?
So obviously a lot of it goes from the college level itself, or from as a fresher, if you are new to the industry. Yes, you do need to have the right connections, be it from LinkedIn, or be it probably from just social interaction or meetups, events that you go to. Partnerships definitely do make a lot of difference, but do not worry or hesitate, because sometimes people think that it's all about the connections that you make before you get into an environment or a professional environment. It's not. You eventually make a lot of connections right after getting into a job role. So I wouldn't say that it is completely dependent, but to an extent it does add a little bit of value to your credibility. So it becomes easier. You know whom to reach out to, who the right kind of people are. So yeah, that I thank you so much, Ganesh, for tuning in and maybe asking that question. That was really interesting.
Cool. So next question we have from Ayush. But HR on LinkedIn are really picky, and due to the pandemic, a lot of graduates will suffer from unemployment. Like, I think he's asking how to tackle this situation.
Right. Okay. So a very good. I completely understand. HR on LinkedIn is super difficult to reach out to. Sometimes it gets to the extent where you do not get a response for a while and you kind of get a little demotivated. But let me just assure you, HR in any organization is always looking for top talent. So if you have what it takes, or you bring to the table something that not a lot of candidates bring, then Ayush, they'll definitely reach out to you. And as for the pandemic, a lot of graduates will suffer from unemployment. I do not agree completely, Ayush, because as much as, yes, a lot of companies are laying people off and are not looking to hire fresh candidates, there are a lot of startups out there who are looking for fresh interns, or fresh developers. I work in the developer field, so I kind of know there are a lot of companies out there who are looking to hire developers. So if you look for the right kind of organizations, you can definitely crack these interviews and get on board and find a job for yourself. Having said that, I completely understand the pandemic is an issue. So I think things should potentially start cooling down by October. So do not worry, just work on your skills, work on taking courses. Manoj here himself, I kind of went through his LinkedIn profile and saw a lot of courses that he's done. So so work on small courses that are available online. These eventually give you a lot of experience, or add a little more value to your entire resume. So yeah, that would be my response to Ayush.
If possible, I can add one point on this. So,
Sure.
so from courses, you can also add on projects. So nowadays, like I started applying off campus, and I saw that like they give some task related to like the roles. For example, you're applying for an app developer, so they tell you to develop a simple app. Like they don't look anything other than else. So if you crack the task, like you can easily move forward and get the internship or the full time goal easily.
For sure, live projects work, but with community, it's more about the campaigns that you lead, or
Yeah.
the events that you have kind of worked on. So I was saying from that perspective, so in case you're looking for community roles, I would suggest try something new out, try something out on YouTube. So for example, start a channel where a lot of students just sit together and talk about what the current issues are, or take a topic up in hand by how difficult it is to crack interviews in Google. You can get a panel of people who have failed Google interviews, and that would add to a lot of value. So these are small ideas which you can work on, and eventually you will be leading these campaigns. So it'll add a lot of value to your ultimate resume. So yeah.
Sure. So I think I'll be implementing your point soon.
Sure, Manoj, you can definitely use it.
So the next one is compensation for community roles by Arsh.
Okay, so this is a very interesting question, because a lot of people have this in mind, and I'm pretty certain anybody who's probably applied for a community role definitely wants to know what is the salary, or how much money do we make in a year, or what kind of compensation bonuses do we have, and all of that. Let me tell you one thing, that it is very subjective from organizations to organizations. It's really subjective, because a lot of times if you get into an organization that is very demanding, or looks for a lot of community roles, or has a lot of community roles in the opening, it probably means that they just want a lot of freshers or youngsters, and will not pay you all that much. So it's easier to apply for these places. But if you are applying for a very specific company, say for example Google, and I don't have a lot of experience with but I know a couple with how to apply for Google, but I do know a couple of people who kind of work in Google, and these guys have always mentioned, you need to be a little different. You have to put that extra effort for Google, because these are high paying jobs. So always with community roles, the more the demand is, or the more they ask off of you, that much higher your pay is going to be. For an average, I would not be the right person to probably give you an average of how much you should be, or how much organizations should pay you. But it is fairly reasonable, considering if you are a fresher or a student. It is really good, and there are a lot of opportunities out there that pay you really well. So if you can kind of land those jobs in, it'll be great. Like there could be nothing better than that. Plus, it's a lot of recognition. Say, for example, Paras Pundir is one of the community guy. Basically, he's someone who has a lot of reach out there. So he backed in the role of he's basically working for Microsoft now. So that is the kind of growth that you will see, and it will be exponential. It will be in like about 2 to 3 years, and there'll be no stopping you then. So because every company wants you after that point, because people listen to you, and there are communities that associate with you or can resonate with you. So it depends on how you perform, Harsh, and how good you are in the role, honestly.
Sure. So it was really good. So the next question is asked by GDG Cloud Ahmedabad. What is the career path for developer relations role?
All right. So developer relations role is very similar to the community evangelist role also to an extent, because you basically will be, I think this is from GDG Cloud Ahmedabad. Yeah. So it is very similar to that, because you will be handling a lot of requests, or you will be helping a lot of individuals in your community who would have questions with oh, I have a problem with my test cases which I'm uploading on your platform. If it is a platform that you guys have, or a contest that you have, you will have a lot of requests coming in for events. So the career path specifically is definitely to be a wholesome community manager, or is to become someone who has who has a lot of reach with probably like thousands of students out there. So ultimately, yes, you would be a community manager. The right designation would most probably be a manager of the entire B2C organization, or like the entire B2C part of a marketing team. And marketing would probably be the right career path for you guys. Programs or operations is also another really good field if you're looking for community roles, because they handle campaigns that paid campaigns basically. So they handle a lot of paid campaigns for the community. So I hope that answers your question. Marketing operations are the kind of fields that you can probably grow well in. Is
Okay.
establishing. Hmm.
Okay, nice. And the next question is asked by Midun Raj. Is establishing a good presence in LinkedIn even during the second year a good thing?
Okay, so a lot of people consider LinkedIn to be something that you can develop only once you get into an organization or you start working for a company. I would say no, because I personally feel that fourth year is a good time, because if it's not too late, but if you can just start off from the first year, just start picking projects up, just start taking any kind of experience that you get, or internships that you see, 3 month long, 1 month long work from home internships for community roles, pick them up, be a campus ambassador for a lot of organizations, and develop your LinkedIn profile slowly and eventually. Because I have very limited experience with LinkedIn. My niche also kind of lies with Instagram, because of how much I kind of promote campaigns on Instagram. But definitely, LinkedIn is a place where you can connect with top recruiters. So letting them know of your entire journey from the second year to your fourth year is gold. Like, that is a very good log of what you've done from your second year to your fourth year. It's telling recruiters that I have done 16 internships in the last 3 years. I have conducted so many events, and this is what my entire profile looks like. So it's very helpful, Midun, and I think you should definitely, if you are planning to establishing a good presence, just go for it. Connect with as many people as you can, because that is ultimately what will help you out a lot.
Cool. So the next question is related to HackerEarth. So are
Okay.
there are there any openings for community manager, hackathon evangelist,
All
developer
right.
relations? HackerEarth?
Very,
So
very
Karth,
interesting, Karthik. Very interesting. Another familiar face, someone who has been an ambassador for HackerEarth for a while. Thank you so much, Karthik, first off, for tuning in. There definitely are openings. We constantly keep putting up openings on our LinkedIn profiles, and even on our Instagram once in a while. You can constantly see us talking about the openings that are there. I personally don't put a lot of updates on openings, because my page is a little different from the usual. So I personally don't put in a lot of openings, but I could definitely, in case there are any, I'll definitely let people know out there, because I've gotten a lot of these messages where students kind of approach or ask me if there are any openings. There definitely are. You can just you can probably follow HackerEarth on LinkedIn, and you'll keep seeing a lot of these updates coming in. You can directly apply, and we have a very non-biased system to take up interviews. So you can definitely apply, because you have a very fair chance of getting in.
Okay, cool. So the next question is, how do you go about doing something as daunting as creating a presence at LinkedIn? It just seems like such a difficult thing to do. So he's just asking, like, how could I like show to people that I'm active at LinkedIn, like instead like just acting to be a live or more active at LinkedIn.
All right. So personally, I take a lot of time to come up with posts. And if you kind of observe, I enjoy a little more on just browsing LinkedIn, because that is something that keeps me up to date with whatever people are doing, or whatever my connections are basically doing. And it helps me out a lot, because I get more perspective into what the market kind of looks like. So I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but it's a very relevant question that you've asked. Try to be active in a way where you comment on the kind of you start posting comments, you start liking stuff on LinkedIn. Eventually people start noticing you, because I remember in the initial few weeks I used to see hundreds of people. I used to send out connection requests to hundreds of people, and now I have completely stopped doing that, because I don't enjoy. I want recruiters, and my LinkedIn profile does not have a lot of students or freshers on there. The kind of people connections that I make, I strictly stick to, or I try to stick as much as I can to working professionals, probably 8 to 10 years in the field, or they have a lot of experience. I try to stick to these guys. So I would suggest you start commenting on the connection or the posts that come up on your feed, and you start liking a lot of posts. Eventually, you're going to get inspired. Start sharing posts which you really find interesting, because if there are like 3 connections in your entire connection group who haven't seen it, they'll definitely go have a look. They'll like it. People start talking about you. Your people start viewing your profile, and that is eventually what you want to do to get more connections. So just start out like that, and I guess eventually it'll help you out for the best.
I want to add one more point here. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Manoj. Please go ahead.
So basically, you can also share things that you do, like in your day-to-day life. Like, what are the things that are more productive? For example, today you attended this webinar, so you can share it. Today I attended a webinar, and tag Anirudh, so that it will tell, like, reach out to more people, and even you will your LinkedIn profile will grow easily.
For sure. So having tips of how you boost up your productivity is something that a lot of people have been putting onto LinkedIn, and I'm kind of a little tired of it, because I keep seeing posts where people just talk about how they've boosted productivity during the lockdown, and it kind of gets a little monotonous. But it's definitely something that you can try out, because a lot of people do want to hear you out from that end. So tried making these small changes, and I wish you the best of luck, because everybody has a different process.
Cool. So the next question, I think you have already answered. How can I get a community role at Google? So even it's my question too.
Right. So thank you so much, Kanan, for bringing this up, because a very relevant question for a lot of freshers out there. I personally used to look at a lot of the job description of what it takes to get into Google when I was in my final year of college. I really wanted to get into marketing or land an internship. Even internships in Google are not easy. So if you need to get into an internship on Google, especially in marketing or any community role, you are going to have to stand out. There is no option but to stand out, and you need to have a lot of experience in your backing. So I would suggest, Kanan, if you're a fresher or a student, uh, don't apply for Google unless you can apply. You can definitely apply. No harm in applying. I'm just saying, don't expect a positive or an optimistic response from them initially. Wait for a couple of years. Build yourself as a brand that companies want to collaborate with. Because if you are someone who influences about 10,000 people, there is no company out there who would not want you, including Google. And Paris Pundir, one of the examples why I got this man on is because he shows what top organizations are looking for when it comes to community. And it is definitely something that people saying that community is the next big thing is not something that should be taken lightly. So I would suggest just build your resume, Kanan, and apply for Google in a couple of years. I wish you all the best, man. I wish you all the best.
Okay, so the next question, I think it's really interesting and it's needed for everyone. Do I lose out by not having college level experience? How can I compensate in my professional life now? So I can put it in a way like everyone will be able to understand. So in my college life, I was not aware of communities and I didn't do anything. And now I feel like I want to switch into a community role. Like, how can I like build up now and switch easily?
Right. So a very valid question, and I kind of mentioned a small part of it during the session where I mentioned about meetups. So Akshay, if you haven't, Akshay, if you haven't kind of been proactive with the community engagement programs that you had in college, say for example tech fests or inter-college events, do not fret, please do not fret, because that is the last thing we would want out of a fresher. Just go for events or meetups in which you're a part of a larger community. What I mean by this is organize events for communities, and you can start off with very small meetup, probably of about 6 to 7 people on meetups. Just start off with meetups, be a part of data science or blockchain or a lot of other groups that are available. I'm currently based off of Bangalore, so I can tell you there are, before the entire COVID-19 crisis, there were a lot of meetups that were happening in Bangalore constantly, and we used to try our level best to even be a part of it. So this is going to, you're going to develop a little bit of experience into how these meetups actually function or how they are organized, and eventually you can create your own channel on meetups. So you can create your own micro community. It could be about 10 people, 5 of your friends, another 5 people from your second tier circle. And eventually it keeps growing into something that you really like. It does not have to be super serious about coding. Now, I just mentioned coding because that's something that I'm really used to, or like a developer community is something that I'm really used to. It can be super simple. It could be about, say, for example, it could be about food that you like, which was an internship that I had done. In my previous internship, my experience with community management was basically with a startup that used to share live locations or live experiences that you're doing right now, of what you're doing right now. So it could be you having food with your friends, or you grabbing a cup of tea with your friends, and you can just share stuff like that and eventually build a community out of that. So I hope that answers your question, Akshay. Meetups is a great way that you can probably try. Instagram page with a bigger following is another option that you can definitely try, and reach out to organizations maybe eventually. So yeah.
Cool. I think this one is a much needed question, and even many of us have a confusion with that. How would you
Okay.
differ technology evangelist, community manager, developer relations? And I will add, like, what's the main difference between a community manager and a community evangelist, and also a program
All right.
manager?
All right. So before I move a little forward, let me first explain what the difference. Let's just take the entire word of community manager out of the equation, right? Because any management role basically means you are on top of a couple of other individuals who are working under you. So let's just completely take the word community manager out of it. That is a different equation altogether, because there you will be responsible for a lot more things or a lot more events that kind of come into your pockets or come into your hands. As for what a technology evangelist or a community evangelist kind of does is, evangelism basically is you going out there and spreading word about what you basically are doing, or basically about your entire community. So you are you are a point in your community. You will be handling the entire community and helping them grow, acquire new members to the community, and also help in engagement by contests, for example, you'd basically be having a lot of coding contests, meetups, be it webinars. All of these will come under your role. So you'll be managing all of this, and you'll be reporting it to your manager, who's also the community manager. So that is the basic role of a community evangelist. As for developer relations role, it is a little more tech oriented, because you will have to know a little bit more about um, technical roles, or like you'll have to know a little bit more about the platform or the organization that you're working on, because you will eventually be helping the members of your community with these issues that they face for your platform of your organization. So a little bit, it's these are all terms that are very similar to each other, but obviously the designation has to be different for different organizations, which is kind of why there are so many words that you come across. Do not get confused. It all expects of the same thing that I kind of mentioned previously in this session. So if you just work on those 4 to 5 points, you should be safe with managing for all of these roles, except for the community manager role. That requires a certain level of experience. So yeah, that would be my answer, Karthik. I hope that helps you.
Yeah. So the next question is that Sedu is asking, I am part of DAC SKCT core team, and how can I be unique when I'll be applying for hacker campus ambassador program? What's its mainly a small internship or big program?
Hello.
Yeah.
Manoj, you're not audible actually. Can you
Yeah.
just repeat it?
Okay. I'll repeat the question. So Sedu has asked this question. He's in second
Yeah.
year and he's also a part of DSC core team. And
Right.
he want to know how can he be unique when he's applying for community roles.
All right. So, Setu, right now, I would suggest you get into a lot more small internships for startups, because you're in your second year, you're really new to the entire system. Be a part of coding clubs like DSC, SKCT, I'm guessing, is also a different club altogether. So, be an active part of it and make sure you learn a lot about organizing an event. Say, for example, approaching sponsors, approaching companies, businesses, writing down email templates. Make sure you know a lot about all of these, plus be a member of other communities as well. Say for example, there is a coding club that is not by DSC, or is for someone else's, is from some other organization. Apply for that. There is no harm in it. Obviously you can decide how much effort you put into these individually later on, but be a part of as many clubs and groups as you can. As for being a little unique, you will not see the uniqueness right now because you're in your second year. But trust me, once you get to your third or your fourth year, you will see that your internships that you have picked up, the small internships, be it campus ambassador internships or be it program, for a particular campaign or any small internships, you will eventually see that these set you apart, or set you apart from the other candidates who are applying for it. I hope that answers your question, Setu.
Okay, sure. I think the time is up and we have crossed 6 o'clock. And
Perfect.
I think
Yeah.
we have covered most of the questions. And for all of you, I have shared even how you can apply for the HackerEarth Campus Ambassador program in the comments. And I want you to explain a little bit more about it. Like our viewers will let know about like HackerEarth Campus Ambassador program. What's its mainly? A small intro.
Right. Okay. So till now, I recently kind of jumped on board with the HackerEarth Campus Ambassador program, and I've been managing it for a while now. I can just tell you, we have a lot of interesting tasks. We have a lot of interesting things that we kind of help students participate in, and you develop personally as a really good professional who can later on apply for a lot of organizations. So that is our end goal. We have a lot of interesting products that we kind of bring up, or any major part, you'll be a part of the entire family, not just the 4 million family. You'll also be a part of our core HackerEarth group by being a campus ambassador for HackerEarth. Any coding contests, any hackathons, any events that you want to kind of publish or host, we'll help you find sponsors, or we can ourselves probably sponsor it in with different kind of goodies or stuff like that we provide for your event. So it's basically a program that shapes you for the community roles that you can later on apply for in other organizations once you graduate. So that is about it about the HackerEarth Campus Ambassador program. You can definitely sign up, and I'll help you out with the entire process of coming on board.
So
Does
I
that
had
help?
some, yeah, sure. So some people ask me doubt like whether only people from CSE or IT background can apply for this program. For example, a person who is in BTech CSE or a B
Right.
IT can apply for the program, or even other people like EC or triple mechanical people can also apply for this program or not.
So we do not have a bias. You will obviously be you will have an upper hand if you are from CS and IC initially, because you will kind of know in and out of the entire system. But irrespective of which branch you're from, we help out students. We have taken students from mechanical, civil, and all of these backgrounds, and we've seen a lot of students participate in major hackathons of ours from mechanical and civil background, and this is from IITs, NITs, and a lot of other colleges also. So we do see a lot of these students from different branches participate, and we really appreciate it because it takes a lot of effort to come from a different background of learning and directly participate in a contest that has nothing to do with what you've learned till now. So we definitely appreciate. You can directly hit us up. I think Manoj has already shared the link with you guys on
Yeah.
the comment section, and you can just hit me up and I'll help you out with the same. Um,
I think
yeah.
we have one question more. I think this is a final question.
Okay.
So Kannan has asked this question. I am part of different communities. Is it really so? All these things will really help me to get a community job.
It'll add a lot of value, Kanan. So there are a couple of other points also that I mentioned previously that add value to your application for any organization or for any community role that you have to crack. But it adds a lot of value if you are a part of a group. So if you are a part of a community, obviously there are multiple factors that go into the play, which you can just find out with any blog that you find on community roles online. You'll find all of those required prerequisites. But I would suggest being a part of a larger community is definitely the first step to building it. So you're on the right way, Kanan. Just keep building, and I guess that will help you out with grabbing or cracking an amazing role in any organization. So thank you so much, Manoj. Actually, before you conclude, thank you so much for inviting me onto this webinar. It was a lot of fun. I genuinely had a lot of fun with the question answer session as well. And it was super interactive, like you promised. So I hope people find this useful, and it helps clarify a couple of questions and concerns that they have.
Okay, thanks a lot, people. And this session will also be available at our channel. And anyone who your friends have missed can watch it afterwards too. And if any resources you want, I'll be sharing it in the description of the video. So thanks a lot, guys, and it's really nice. Yeah, thanks, Anirudh too. So really,
Perfect.
it
Not a
was
problem.
for
It was.
accepting.
Hmm.
For
Yeah, please
accepting
continue.
like my invitation and coming for guiding talks, the second talk, guiding talk, and it was really awesome. So the main aim of the guiding talk is to guide people during this pandemic. So the first talk was to like how to crack the SD role in the top product companies, and this is how to crack roles in community. So it was really awesome, and I think a lot of people got benefited from this.
For sure. I really hope they did. And thank you so much, Manoj, like I mentioned before. Thank you so much for inviting me over.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.